episode 4, recalls and consumer reports reliability studies. I'll cover that really quickly. I just want to say that Ford has a lot of recalls. They take responsibility for their issues and they want their product to be good. They want you to be satisfied with your product. And sometimes some of the recalls are just, I feel unimportant. You know, there was, 11 millimeters of Maverick airbag overinflating. I don't think because of 11 millimeters I'm gonna break my neck. You know, I can handle 11 millimeters, but anyways, sometimes the recalls are also just programming for, you know, the touchscreen. So speaking of which, the F-150 Lightning vehicle range update. So there's been an update on the F-150 Lightning. It's an over-the-air update, so you want to make sure that your Lightning is connected to the Wi-Fi of your home, so that it can take that new programming in. And what that new programming is going to do is it's going to actually bother you and upset you much less. So right now, when, let's say, cold weather would come along, the system right away, you'd step in, you're fully charged, and it would say, oh, you have 300, let's say it's very, very cold. You get in and right away it would say you have 300 kilometers to empty. Or, you know, 100 and 200 miles, 220 miles. Yeah, I think the math, 220 or 230. But anyways, it would tell you right away the truth. And that was really upsetting people because they're like, wow, if it's already this little, oh, it's obviously, it's cold out. It's gonna, you know, cut again in half. No, it was just telling you the truth right away. Now they're gonna slowly lie to you. I mean, they're gonna slowly get you to realize the truth. So I guess you're gonna get in and the range is gonna be a much higher. And anyways, temperatures throughout the day can really, from day to day, can change a lot. You can be extremely cold one day in the morning and then half decent come end of day or the next day. So you're going to get in, you're going to have more range showing up, and it's going to correct itself more, you could say, live. There are more live updates on range because, of course, the weather changes drastically from day to day and even considerably from morning to afternoon. Heck, yesterday it was ridiculous. The weather could have blinded someone. You couldn't see anything. It was, and the northern wind was so cold. I actually found it cold. For me to find it cold,
it was hard to be
ridiculous.
Outside.
It was. I ran to get back inside, and that never happens. I'm usually just laughing when she's saying it's cold.
Snowflakes was hitting her face all over again. It was hard to see something.
And when the neighbor was screaming, I was actually laughing. I'm like, I can't handle the cold. And then 10 minutes later, I was just booking it for the house. But now Ford is, you know, realizing they're changing up their programming, so it's more, you know, updating more regularly. So you're not going to get in and they're not going to, you know, scare you and give you range anxiety as soon as you walk into your Lightning, which I'm very happy about, and still not a fan of. Well, the Blue Cruise oddly today worked pretty much for it only cut off I think once in my whole ride home, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to annoy me every 2 kilometers? But this morning when turning, I go to get out into the left lane, I've got the blinker on, and the adaptive cruise control slowed down, and that's just dangerous. I had a vehicle in the left lane, sleeping in the left lane, going slowly, thankfully, but I slowed down like, you know, 10%. And in slowing down 10% and pulling out, I didn't quite realize I was slowing down until I was in the other lane. I'm like, well, thankfully the other vehicle wasn't, you know, didn't rear end me. But your Maverick and my F-150, we are total criminals. We leave our ball mounts on our vehicles because we know there's some bad drivers out there that might just get angry and choose to drive into the back of us, fall asleep. Often in my area, it's so bad, people are on their phones.
And people doesn't see ice and just never stop at the time at this time.
No, it can be really, really icy out, and it's an actual ice storm. Yeah. And people are braking last minute at the lights and then sliding right through, and it's like...
following too close.
Like, how can you not realize there's ice out when you almost died walking to your vehicle? You almost flipped on your back and turtled up on your back.
Looks like horrible here, winter.
Now, I do want to, winter can be horrible. Now, I do want to mention that scheduling last week. Check your emails if you've ordered a Bronco Sport, an Econoline, an Edge, Expedition Explorer, F-150, Mach-E, Maverick, medium truck. Who ordered that? Come on. Ranger, Super Duty, and Transit. Now, Lincoln, they did some scheduling for Aviator. Nautilus. I don't think you're supposed to say naughty list, but it really does almost make me feel like it should be pronounced naughty list. But I'm sure that when Lincoln wouldn't like that one. So Navigator was also scheduled last week.
Oh, before you go more far, Tom Dinder said you were going to tell us the difference between an hybrid and plug-in hybrid. What kind of electric outlet do you need installed?
Oh, right, yes. So if you have a regular hybrid, I'm covering it in tomorrow's video at 7:30 p.m. And Marie was like, so what do I do to charge this? You just let go of the accelerator. And do the brakes charge the vehicle? No, the brakes do not charge the vehicle. Your electric engine is going to create greater resistance, and with that greater resistance, it's going to charge the battery, so you're going to use your brakes actually much less, to the point where your brakes might actually rust up and give you problems. So once in a while, purposely hit that brake. Less so in a regular hybrid, more so in a plug-in. In a plug-in, if it's a plug-in hybrid, generally the batteries range from 10 to 20 kilowatts, and you can actually charge that on the 110 volt plug. So an Escape, for example, is a 14.4 kilowatt, likely the battery size that the Maverick's going to get. And when you plug this in, you can plug it in and charge it overnight. You don't have to have a 220, and the mobile charger does come with the vehicle. Same thing for a Lincoln Corsair. Like you get a Lincoln Corsair, check in case some models don't have it. For example, the Lightning 511 Lariat comes with the big 80 amp charger and does not come with the mobile charger, but your mobile charger comes with most Fords. And you would not want to charge a full electric vehicle with these. It'd be far too slow unless you have the 220 volts. So Ford's mobile chargers, you can plug it to the 110 or to the 220. If you have a 220 plug, that's fine. For an electric vehicle, you can just live with the 110 volt plug and the mobile charger for Ford's plug-in hybrids. If you don't have the 220 volt and you have an electric vehicle, you are going to need to buy that charger. And I can't believe it, but someone on YouTube has 500,000 views because they were, completely bumming out on the Lightning and Ford because this individual wasn't getting their charger. I kind of feel like that's like going to the water park on the absolute hottest day at 2 in the afternoon and complaining that there's lines. It's like...
Good comparison, by the way.
Except you can't reserve your place in line, months in advance. But this is, and
there's a lineup.
I'm criticizing him, not because he ordered his charger after his Lightning showed up at his dealer, but because now he's complaining. And I'm an idiot. I forgot to order her roll-up. Marie didn't pick her roll-up cover. It wasn't a guaranteed thing.
I didn't think about that too. We were waiting for so long for the Maverick, so we just said yes.
I'm still a dummy.
We'll see it when it arrives.
Yeah, but
we can believe it now.
2 months. I had trouble believing it when we knew that you're scheduled and you're being produced. That is when I should have ordered your. It's absolutely when I should have ordered your roll-up. Well, I should have asked, which roll-up do you want? I should have asked, do you want a hard roll-up? Do you want a soft roll-up? Do you want to do the fold-up? Here's the pros and cons. I should have had that talk with you, and I didn't. But for an electric vehicle...
But I won't cry. I have the car.
Anyways.
That's the best thing.
It is. But for an electric vehicle, you should absolutely know that you're going to need a charger. And you should order this months in advance. I've had some chargers show up within 5 to 7 days, just like the website says it will. And mine actually I ordered it 3 months in advance. And after 2 months, when there was 1 month left, I still didn't have it. So
we're nervous because you need to call an electrician to do the job too after that.
I know. And
there's delay.
You need a charger. Otherwise, I'm not going to pay, a fortune on these fast chargers, and it's not even that great for the battery. So I wanted my at-home charger. So I ordered another one from the website. and the website took it. And they sent me the first one. And I think it's kind of like when you have coffee in the morning and you haven't gone to the bathroom in a while, and then it all happens at once. I think this also happened with the Ford charger company.
2 chargers?
My dealership received 2 chargers in my name. And they were, cool and honest. And they called Ford up, and Ford was like, yeah, we were going to contact you about that. Yeah, we sent you 2 chargers. We'd like one back. So these things happen, but you need to plan ahead. You don't walk. A restaurant's a better example. It's the city's most popular restaurant. You don't walk, in at 6 or 7 o'clock at night or whatever. People, I don't know what time's popular at restaurants. I don't go to restaurants. I like to cook at home. And I really like it when Marie cooks at home, because that's even better. But I like the creative process of cooking when I do cook. But anywho, you don't walk into the busiest restaurant in the city and demand a table and then make a YouTube video of how, the city's best restaurant is total crap because they didn't give you a table and they didn't give you your food. It's like, anyways, YouTube sometimes drives me crazy because the most popular videos seem to be the most ridiculous, nonsensical, poorly thought out videos, but that are entertaining. So I guess entertainment sells, but I'm not willing to show my boobs as an expression. I'm not willing to show my boobs for popularity or be a boob. It's an expression in English. Being a boob is kind of like being a bit of a comical dummy. But anywho, yeah, here's I will show my dog though. This is Lily, and Lily tonight was doing tricks. We'll have cuddles. She loves cuddles, and she was doing tricks for Salmon. So that's that. We've more than passed our time on this episode part. But anyways, I just want to cover there's been a few other recalls at Ford. We got off topic here. We'll get right back on. We've got demonstration and delivery hold for a safety recall. These are do not drive vehicles for the Ford Bronco, Wildtrak, and Raptor models. And I'm just going to say Ford knows which models these are. Dealers are being contacted. They won't be able to deliver them until they check and possibly change something with the steering gear. So it's an internal component of the steering gear, and it may have been damaged during steering gear manufacturing. This damage to the steering gear may result in increased steering efforts and the potential to not be able to turn the steering wheel while driving. Who needs to turn the steering wheel when driving anyways? You just honk at people and they get out of the way. Increasing the risk of a crash. Well, I guess so. And speaking of my jokes that aren't very funny, people seem to have possibly really taken Ford's joke, and it was actually a joke and a real compliment to women, I think, on Women's Day. They're like, how could Ford make a men's only model commercial on Women's Day? And it's for the Ford Explorer, and it's just talking about Ford Explorer men's edition. So no heated seats, no power steering, like no AC, no heated seats, no power windows, just basically, really uncomfortable and unpleasant vehicle. And they're like, this is your man's edition Explorer. And it's a joke because it makes you realize life is better with a wonderful woman in your life. It's so much more comfortable. Your clothes is clean. Your house, everything. My life is so much better because you're in it.
Thank you.
And I think Ford was saying, because kind of making a joke, it's a joke. They're saying the Explorer Man's Edition, like, look how unenjoyable your vehicle would be. Thank you, women. But they weren't saying thank you, women, because that's not funny. Always saying exactly what you mean isn't humor. So, I'd like to say that it would be really great and it was informative and it was comical.
Yeah, it's a subtle joke.
It's a subtle joke. And people took it like, how dare Ford publicize a men's edition Explorer on Women's Day? At some point, can we all just laugh together? And maybe we don't have to love each other, but can we work to like each other instead of work our pants off trying to find reasons to hate each other? I'm not enjoying this, these days. There seems to be a subsection of culture that
Cannot
looks
say
for a
something.
reason to hate
Yeah.
people. Like, can we hate Ford now? Can we hate GM now? We can always hate Dodge on this channel. That's okay. No, I'm kidding. I think Dodge does.
No.
Dodge's new
Calm.
electric Challenger has sound coming out of the back, and they're doing it right, and that's awesome. I love that. They're taking the risk to be like, you know what, an electric vehicle is going to make some sound. And it's not going to be some phony stuff coming out of the speakers. It's going to be real sound siphoned out from the electric motor up front. Frank Sonic, funny business going on with piping, like an organ, I guess, or a church. What are those fancy pianos at church? Organs? Anyways, they're going to make sound and it's going to be awesome. So Marine Vet is saying, I'm bailing myself out now. Yeah, because Marie kicked me under the table. I'm not
Like that?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to dislike any manufacturers. But it's always pros and cons. Okay, so demonstration and delivery holds. I think we've covered what I want to cover. Last week I talked about the transmission in basically it could be a Bronco, it could be anything with a 10-speed at Ford. So a lot of models. It's a great transmission. However, for certain VINs, you'll be contacted by Ford. A bolt could come loose. They either said it could come loose or maybe an extra bolt is in the transmission, and it could actually make it so that the vehicle slides forward. Just a reminder to everyone, use your handbrake. It's always better. Helps your transmission last longer. And in this situation, could help you not have breakfast with your, Bronco or F-150 in your dining room. You don't want that thing sliding, from the yard into the dining room, through the living room and into the dining room. Isn't this how everyone envisions this type of situation?
Having breakfast with a Bronco.
When we would actually often, even now with the Maverick, you're doing it. We're in the room and you're like, oh, I catch you looking down at you're like, I can see it. And then
I was waiting for that so for a long time. I can look at it by the window if I want to now.
And I thought you were looking at something like that. I was like, oh, something's going on with Maverick. I gotta go see this. And I'm looking down, I'm like, I can't see it. And then I realized I'm in my boxers in front of the window. So thankfully, no one was out yet. It was early. Won't do that again. You make a mistake once, you're human. You make the same mistake over and over, you're a not so smart human. Yes, congrats, Bob. I think that means he got, Bob in Toronto. Bob the Toronto.
Ordered a Lariat Trimmer Maverick in August, and it was shipped on March 9.
So because we're running out of... Congratulations. And because we're running out of time, I'm going to go right through Recalls and Consumer Reports, Episode 4. Recalls and Consumer Reports, Reliability Studies. I'm going to say it real quick. Ford, we've covered it. They've got recalls. They want to have a product that, they don't just blame you for things that go wrong when it's on their end. They don't want to say, oh, well, it must be how you used your F-150 that your transmission, rolled off. Part broken in, you're going to pay a new transmission. No, they're like, hey, sorry, we want you to have a great experience. This isn't so great, but, here's a repaired or new transmission. So sorry for that. So Ford does recalls, and Ford does recalls also for, really, really small issues. There's one recall on a Lincoln going on, or that just went by, that was actually because there was like a quarter of a second of a chime, like a door chime, that it was one of the chimes, and they're like, you really need to make it to 4 seconds of door chime. So we made it to 3.75 seconds. We're going to do a recall. We got to be at 4 seconds. So looking just at recalls isn't a way of deciding whether a company has a good product. Heck, if we had humidifiers, and we bought two of the same brand from the same store, and they broke, one within 3 weeks, and we were just told, well, you have to communicate with the company. And they don't answer back, so bad service, horrible. Then the other one broke and had been several months, and like, oh no, they're only warranted for whatever it is, 1 month, when home appliances in Quebec legally are have to be guaranteed for 10 years. And I was like, it's $350. I'm not going to fight and argue and have to maybe go to small claims court, and then they won't show up, and then I'll win my case. And I'm not going to go through all that. I'll just, you know, take the kick in the pants and, you know, throw away $350. That's horrible customer service. And then I bought a dehumidifier from Costco because they're great. If they sell me a product that's bad, they're going to take care of me. And that's what Ford is doing. So Consumer Reports, basically, they like to look at how many times people go to the dealership within the first year for something that's not an oil change, and they treat it all the same. A blown engine or a door latch, something, a seat belt, belt ticking. Same thing. You have a recall because the seatbelt positioning makes it hit a plastic, and Ford doesn't want you to hear that tick-tick noise anymore. Well, that actually counts for, you know, points against them, just like if they had, you know, a motor blown. And that's just doesn't make sense to me. These things need to be weighted. You know, a blown engine needs to count for, you know, 1,000 points, and a little seatbelt that goes tick, tick, tick needs to be, you know, 1 point. As opposed to 1,000 points for a blown motor or transmission.